You guys want to dive into this top line because, Perry, they've been awesome throughout the postseason, but in Game 1, 8 points combined.
Couture is, their whole line, it's like you said, they're absolutely incredible. The way they are skating to support each other, any turnover, and Timo Meier, the skill that they have. They're taking advantage, they're going hard, getting dirty plays, they're getting good, pretty goals like that. The way they start with the first, minute of the game, first shift, come out and play like this. They set the tone so well. And man, St. Louis has got to find a way to keep them away from Binnington, because they just keep putting it in the back of the net.
And you look at that line, Mark, the way that they're constructed. They've got on the left side Timo Meier, big, physical. You know, they talk to Peter DeBoer, talk about a prototypical power forward. You've got Couture at center ice, who's got the IQ, who's got the smarts, who've got the intelligence to make everything work, both on the offensive side and the defensive side. And he seems to have that knack for a big moment. And then on the other side, you've got speed. You've got great quickness, great hands in Gustav Nyquist. It was a subtle pickup. Nobody talked about it much at the deadline. And the GM, Doug Wilson of the San Jose Sharks, made a great pickup. And look at this pass here by Nyquist. Whoops, little fake. Logan Couture says, thank you very much. It energizes, it puts adrenaline in that building, and that San Jose Arena, SAP Pavilion, is a tremendously loud building. And if you get that line, time and space away, the adrenaline is just going to carry them through the game, and that's what happened in Game 1.
Fellas, one of the best things, I think, about these Stanley Cup playoffs has been the way Couture continues to just put on a show at the biggest time of year. And he's backed up whatever words he's talking about, right? When he said, hey, I got to be better, follows it up with a hat trick. And here we are again, Mark, and the Stanley Cup playoffs are here, and Logan Couture is stepping up to that level that you need from your star.
He's got that natural ability when the pressure's on, when the bright lights come on, just to show up. It's almost like he relaxes with his poise, but his discipline, his determination rises. He's such an incredible player because they don't spend too much time in their own end. They get through the neutral zone so fast, and then they spend a lot of time in the offensive zone. Couture will get in there F1 forecheck. He'll come in late. He'll get that one-timer from Nyquist. He can play any style of hockey you want.
We had a graphic in the previous show about since 2016's the points per game. Not Crosby's the leader, not Malkin, not Ovechkin, Logan Couture, 1.13 points per game in the playoffs since 2016. This guy loves the big stage. He loves the big moment. In Game 7, he is there. We've talked about Justin William at length, and we probably will throughout the course of the rest of the playoff. But Logan Couture is a guy that thrives under pressure. He loves to have the attention, the spotlight on him in the playoffs.
From the Shark Tank, we certainly are. On NHL Tonight, going to play a new game called Put It on the Board, to quote an old broadcasting friend in baseball, Hawk Harrelson. You can put it on the board! Yes. So, we have Alex Tanguay and Mark Parrish. You guys are in the respective dressing rooms of St. Louis and San Jose. These are the things you want to see. You have to see for each team to come out with a victory. Let's start with the home squad in the San Jose Sharks. What's number one?
Well, for the San Jose Shark, there is no question, Stephen, that the one thing that they need is desperation in Game 2. Because you look at what they did in the first round against the Vegas Golden Knights. They won Game 1. They lost Game 2. You look at what they did in the second round against the Colorado Avalanche. They won Game 1. They lost Game 2. You do not want to give any momentum to the St. Louis Blues. The St. Louis Blues, we've talked about it all season long, or pretty much after Christmas, that they were the best team since January 2nd. They have that confidence. They have that swagger. They have that mojo. Do not give them any momentum tonight. They know that they're going back home for Game 3 and 4. You want to make sure that if you're in the San Jose Sharks, you're 7-2 at home. You don't want that game number 2 to not be a win for your squad. Desperation is what you need. Human nature makes it that you're a little easier. You know, maybe you don't work as hard when you have the lead or when you're already up in the series. Tonight, you're 3 games away from the Stanley Cup Finals. The San Jose Sharks have to bring their best.
And they want to win at home, and they want to make sure they set the tone for this series against St. Louis, that they're not going to be giving away games at home in Game 2. Put the pressure on St. Louis to go back and force a must-win situation in Game 3. They don't have to win Game 2. They would have to win Game 3 to not go down 3-0.
Yeah, Mark, I mean, you're right. The Sharks, they've won Game 1 in all 3 rounds at this point, but they've yet to take a 2-0 series lead. So I get what you're saying, desperation in Game 2, even though San Jose's up 1-0 right away. All right, Perry, what's the second item on the board?
Second item in the board is keep the traffic in front of Jordan Binnington. You know as well as I do, Mark. Mark is a guy that made his living in front of the net. You've got to take eyesights of goalies that are good. Take it away, Mark.
I absolutely love getting goalies mad at me. It was something I just enjoyed. It was my devil's advocate, and that's where they got to get to this young Jordan Binnington. He's too comfortable, he's too calm, he's too poised. You got to get in there and force him to get off his angle, look around players. Just like that, how he has to look around Couture, bounces to Pavelski, gives him opportunities, gives rebounds away, and that's where you're going to get those second, third opportunities on Binnington.
Jordan Binnington has been unfazed since he's made his entry in the NHL this year. He's been confident, he's been poised. When he has been under pressure, under siege, when he's had a bad performance, it doesn't seem to faze him. He doesn't seem to show. But when you're a netminder and you have presence and constant presence in front of you, it's going to affect you at some point, and it's going to affect your play. So for the San Jose Sharks that have the big bodies, you want to get there in front. Yeah. Third subject for the San Jose Sharks, simple. You gave one power play to the St. Louis Blues in the second in game one. Stay disciplined. If you stay disciplined, you take away that good feeling that the top players have. Ryan O'Reilly, Robert Thomas, Vladdy Tarasenko, Alex Pietrangelo, David Perron, they want to feel the puck. They want to have those minutes on the power play where they feel good about themselves, where they make good passes, where they feel like they are in the game. And if you keep staying disciplined, you keep that momentum, you're going to make it hard on those top guys to produce offensively.
And I think it's going to help their depth, too, with San Jose. They've got a little bit of a lead in the depth situation against St. Louis, and they can just roll their lines, and wear St. Louis down.
I'm looking at that second point and seeing Binnington, and I think a lot of Blues fans are not just looking for it, but expecting a Binnington bounce back. After a loss this year, he's 9-2 with a .934 save percentage. Pretty good numbers. You will take that. All right, so we are going to take those 3 bullet points off the board for the Sharks, and we're going to go to the dressing room for the St. Louis Blues now, Tangs. What's the first thing on there?
Feet moving. There's no question that the St. Louis Blues are a faster team than what they showed in the first game. They have to be moving their feet. They have to play to their strength. And since January 2nd, we've talked about how consistent they have been into their play. Well, how do you become consistent, and how do you have a game that can be effective in every rink that you play in? You have to be fast. You have to be closing gaps. You have to be moving your feet. You have to be putting pressure on the defensive pairing of the San Jose Sharks, because Vlasic, Burns, and Carlson, they're going to keep making plays, but you need to be on top of them quickly.
Especially, like you said, the way San Jose plays the body, they need to skate to support not just one option for the guy with the puck, 2 options for the guy with the puck. Get through, show that speed, spend no time in the defensive zone, and all the time below San Jose's goal line.
Absolutely right. So not only on the offense and defense they have to be faster, but item number 2 I thought was crucial for them in previous series. I thought they did it well in the first game, and you don't want to take away from some of the stuff that you did well. I want to see them playing the body, be physical. You know, we saw Carlson get hit 4 or 5 times into that game. We saw David Perron. We saw Shen there. We saw Schwartz getting involved. We saw the big shoulder. Oscar Sundqvist making some big checks. You want to keep pressure on the San Jose Sharks that they're going to have to pay a price if they want to make plays, you know. And if you do that consistently in a series, the longer that you do it, the more that the guys on the other side are going to hesitate and are going to want to make their play a little bit faster. It wears on players when you play physical. The St. Louis Blues can do that very well.
I was taught early on in my career, you're either the hammer or you're the nail. Doesn't matter how big you are. You're either going to hit or you got to get hit. That's the way it goes in the NHL.
All right, well, let's nail this third bullet point and put it on the board.
The third bullet point, guys, is the no turnover. Craig Berube has talked about, too, in the last game, that he wanted to make sure that they don't give space or they don't give momentum to the San Jose Sharks. When you look at the breakdown, well, first thing we talk about speed and gap control. Look at Edmondson there. He's got to play where he's got to have a better gap. If you give 15, 20 feet to guys like that, Nyquist and Couture, they're going to make you pay for it. You've got to make sure you get up on the play, and as it goes there, right, the stick is a funnel. You've got to be able to be angling with your stick. If you move it too quick, good players are going to make you pay. Look at the reaction from Edmondson. Slams his stick on the ice. He knows he did poorly. There, Edmondson, same thing. There's a good gap position there. Look at LeBanc and Sorensen where they're at. They're close to the guys, the defenseman from St. Louis. All of a sudden, look at this gap. LeBanc gets the puck at the blue line. Look at where Edmondson, he took no skating, no strides. You don't close gaps. What's Sorensen going to do? Going to drive the net. LeBlanc is a shooter. Mark, you know that full well. You want that time and space. You want that ability to be able to move. And look at those subtle plays. Little things that sometimes we don't notice. Sorensen lifts the stick of Edmondson. Not going to allow Edmondson to get that stick to Sorensen, to LeBlanc. LeBlanc take that puck to the middle. Beautiful play. The San Jose Sharks, the execution was there. And for the St. Louis Blues, those three keys are going to be key for them to get back in the series tonight.
As well as San Jose's defense are always there and ready to join. It's not just the forwards that are coming back on that turnover. It's all 5 of them.
You guys feel good about what you put on the board? I feel great.
I feel good. You know, it's easy up here to break down, you know, the tape and put it on the video. But for those guys, the intensity's got to be there. It's 2 games. It's 2 games away. You haven't lost anything until you've lost a game at home. And I think the St. Louis Blues, with the experience that they've had in the first 2 rounds, they know that full well. But tonight, they do want to get back in the series. So those bullet points, let's see if they work.
Score! And the Avs have done it! Do you know the way to San Jose?
The Boston Bruins, they are on to the Eastern Conference Final for the first time since 2013.
Game 7 in the Stanley Cup playoffs. It is a time and a place where heroes are born.
Bring out the Zamboni! Paparoo just put the city on his shoulders, and he sends them to the conference finals.
Guess who tipped that puck in front of the net? That's right, it's the captain, Joe Pavelski.
And the San Jose Sharks are going back to the Western Conference Final.
Tuukka Rask, one of the best goaltenders in the playoffs.
Oh, a great save made by Rask. Wagner's got it into the far circle, walks in, he scores!
That's a spectacular goal.
Second in the NHL in the regular season when it came to goals from their back end, and continuing that trend here, not only in Game 2, but in these playoffs. How about 5 points from the D? How big is that this time of year? Getting that kind of production, not only shutting down goals, keeping them out of your own net, but obviously chipping in offensively as well.
Massive. It's game-changing because when you're able to defend well the way the Blues have been, and that's been a big part of their success all season long under Craig Berube once they turned it around. But they're a +5 on the sheet, and then they get 5 points as well. I mean, this is really impressive because they're making plays and high plays, seemingly innocent plays like that one. Vince Dunn with a 3-pointer there like Steph Curry from distance. Here's a second look at it as you see through the bodies, beating Marty Jones through the screen. Very impressed with Vince Dunn, by the way, but Bortuzzo was excellent in this one as well. Guys, it makes all the world of a difference when your D are offensive threats in the offensive zone.
And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to have the last name Carlson. You don't have to have the last name Letang. You just have to be calculated the way you do it, get movement. Because when you look at a defensive zone coverage or an offensive zone coverage in this situation, you've got your 3 forwards down in the zone basically against their 5 guys. If you're going to stay out there, out at the blue line, you're going to be limited at what kind of offensive chances you can make. They did a great job of getting movement, creating confusion, and getting pucks to the net. It made all the difference in the world, and I like the guys that did it because they aren't those household offensive prodigies.
How about the last name Bortuzzo, making an impact in this game, literally and figuratively, Rupper?
Well, you know what? I love Robert Bortuzzo because one of the things when you look at the St. Louis Blues team is they have big D. So you got to deal with them, getting around them, their physicality, and he was bringing the physicality. We got some clips here. He was just pounding the body into the same one. It seemed like every time he's getting a hit, it's against Marcus Sorensen right here. You see, going in there, finishing the hit, and he had a number of big hits in this game. As you're watching him, you're tracking him here, and you see right here, big step up, boom, drops him down again. So he's bringing those things. Another one, boom, same one right there. But they
old school.
It got me going. I just want to see that. But watch the tracker on him here. This is what I love. Is you have him come out here, he moves the puck. Watch this. This is on the Dunn goal. But look at Bortuzzo moving through. He creates attention. And just that little bit, you kind of comb out the defensive zone coverage. Watch him on this one. Little give and go. Jumbo comes out. I'm going to jump past him, comes in. I mean, that backhand is ridiculous. But it's the movement that I love. And again, Robert Bortuzzo, a ton of credit to him because it's about being confident and again, going back to that word conviction, having conviction in your decision making. You're not feeling it out, trying to see what there is. You get a chance, you jump in. You've got that internal clock as a defenseman of how long you can hang in there and when you need to get out. He did a great job, and they get 2 goals out of it.
how about the goaltending in this game, too? Jordan Binnington, all we've ever known from this kid is bouncing back. He's got the numbers to back it up. 10-2 record, both regular season and playoffs. Following a loss, gets it done here and gets his team right back in the Western Conference Final. We got a series week. What'd you see from Jordan Binnington this game that we didn't see in Game 1?
He's unflappable. I think his positioning was great in this one and very patient. Look at these saves. That's off a deflection. Nothing was overplayed. His feet were settled. Even on that one, a broken play, able to get a lateral push to the glove side while he was going blocker. This, another deflection, makes a save, back on his feet, tracking, does a nice job closing down any holes on that one. Another deflection, a 2-save sequence. I just thought that his feet were underneath him. He was on balance before he made a lot of saves. He was sound positionally, but I would also say, too, his teammates were better in front of him in this game. Last game, full marks to the San Jose Sharks. They were in a feeding frenzy. They were dominant. But the St. Louis Blues, to be honest, didn't play their game in game number 1. And I think that by them being a little more convicted in how they want to play, as you said earlier, in terms of their style, that conviction in their style, their game plan, that allowed Jordan Binnington to get back to what he does well and to the St. Louis Blues to do what they do well as well.
You know what I love about him that we saw in this game a number of times, you see it, and I love when you see young goalies that maybe don't have all that much experience in the league doing these things. It shows me a bunch of confidence in and a lot of plays that are in close. When he is under control, he sticks his blocker out. This would be his blocker. Sticks his blocker out, sticks his glove out. So he's taking away angles. So when these guys are in close, he's not staying all compact here on the same level, which as a shooter, if he's staying here, I can see corners. If he moves his glove here, I don't see that corner anymore. And on some of these saves, just little tiny things that he does. He seems so well positioned. He never seems to have to make a desperate save because of that. But those little subtleties, man, it really throws you off as a shooter.
Yeah. And puck handles, too. Sorry, J-Mo.
Oh, yeah.
Puck handles were key for him once again.
And I think we found that confidence level with him early on in his NHL career when he was asked, are you nervous? Do I look nervous? No. So he's got the swagger to go along with the game as well.
Robert Bortuzzo had moves like that.
He surprised me. I think he surprised all of us. He's a very characteristic guy. He plays hard and he plays pretty honest back there. But to do things like that comes out big in playoff games.
How well did your D-core adjust to the moves that Craig Berube made with your pairings there in the second period?
Yeah, I think it was just kind of a spur of the moment thing. We needed to get something going when they started coming at us hard there. So, I think all of us responded well. We didn't panic when they got the 2 quick ones, and overall, I think our team played a great game.
What was the mood like there, Vince, on the bench? You had a 2-goal lead, then all of a sudden the game is tied. What allowed you guys to settle in the way that you did?
Well, we knew why we gave up those 2. They were 2 pretty grade A chances, so to limit those and to not feed into their transition, just to stick to what we were doing well to get those first 2 goals for us. That's what we needed to continue and get back to it for the rest of the game there after they scored 2.
This morning you said that there was a lot of confidence in Jordan Binnington. What did you see from him tonight?
Yeah, he's amazing. You can see him playing the puck in the last few minutes there. It's pretty risky, but when he's feeling it, he's really on his game. So we had no doubt that he was going to bounce back after the game 1 there. It was kind of an unfortunate game for him, but for him to get back into it and for us to respond like that, that's really big for us.
Vince, thanks so much for your time. All the best to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, Bruce Bochy, a couple baseball guys at a hockey game, but how special is this atmosphere here in the Stanley Cup playoffs?
Oh, it's so much energy. It's so electric. The Sharks have done such a great job. How they've gotten here to win 7 games. In the 7th game, and that Las Vegas game. We were in Toronto watching that, and so I'm glad we had a day off. I could come down and catch a game.
You mentioned watching that Game 7 in Toronto, of course, with the great hockey heritage in Canada. For you and the Giants players and staff to watch that game, what was that experience like watching it in a country where hockey means so much?
Yeah, you know what? It was kind of funny. The bar was full. We're having some food there and watching the game, and then they got beat. So they were down a little bit, but we ended up winning that game. So it's a lot of fun.
Bruce, you mentioned to me just a moment ago, of course, you've won 3 World Series titles, and that you said something about the atmosphere of a playoff hockey game is really unique. How would you describe the emotions, of course, and you're managing a game in the World Series, but what it's like to feel the intensity of a Stanley Cup playoff game?
Really similar. The pregame, the Sharks do such a great job. We came out and watched the lighting and all that and getting the crowd going, and I mean, you feel it, and it brings back some great memories. And it's been a couple of years since we've been there, but it's the same. Hockey, I don't care what sport you're in, there's nothing like playoffs.
And on that note, Bruce, you have the Warriors, of course, going through the playoffs on the other side of the bay. How exciting is it, do you notice, the players to have that bond with the other athletes in town? How much they talk about that in the clubhouse?
It is really cool in the Bay Area. How everybody pulls for the other teams, and it's almost like a family because it's such a close-knit area, the Bay Area, and so their players come to our games, our players go there, just like the Sharks. Football, same way. So we pull for each other, and the guys can't wait to watch their games. And we have a day off today. I can tell you, most of our guys are watching this game right now.
And finally, Bruce, as you step away from managing the Giants after this year, your schedule's going to open up. You're going to be a free agent in demand because of your great acumen in sports. Should Doug Wilson consider maybe a special assistant to the GM role for you here on the NHL side? What do you think?
Yeah, well, he'd have to work with me a little bit on hockey. I'm still learning about it. There's a lot of strategy I don't quite know like I should, but I'll be down here more. I can tell you that because I'll end up living up here, I'm sure.
Bruce, you look great in orange and black. These colors look good on you as well, my friend. Great talking baseball and hockey with you as always.
All right, thanks, John. Thanks. This feels good, this sweater. See that hockey lingo sweater?
well done. Hockey sweater. Note that. Bruce Bochy, hockey fan and a great guy. Thanks so much. Well, some of us, Darren, may have been surprised at the quality of Robert Bortuzzo's hands, but Braden Shen said we've maybe got to do a better job of looking at the warm-up there. He's got some pretty great mitts there. How about that goal here in Game 2?
Well, I think that's what hockey's all about. Robert Bortuzzo is a well-liked teammate. He does a lot of the little things. He's a big part of the penalty kill. And as the former coach Ken Hitchcock liked to say, I don't mind the beef on the bun on one of those pairings. So a switch was made. Joel Edmondson sets up Robert Bortuzzo for the game-winning goal. And the very likable and amiable Bortuzzo ends up making an unbelievable play. Forehand, backhand, under the bar and in. I mean, not many people would have seen that coming, but it was a terrific play.
Interesting, too, Darren, that after the game, Joel Edmondson credited Mike Van Ryn, the assistant coach, with having a good instinct to maybe shuffle those pairings. How did you see the Blues respond collectively once those changes were made?
I agree. I think one of the top 3 stars would be Mike Van Ryn and the coaching staff, because this is what has to happen during these games. This is not an October game where you can just play it out and see how things go. It was stale. And the deep pairings were stale. Nothing was happening. And in fact, I thought Vince Dunn was a struggling defenseman in this game, and then he became the most improved defenseman in this game when he and Colton Parayko were together. Listen, Jay Bouwmeester and Alex Pietrangelo in the past have had a lot of the primary duties of defending, and I thought they were a stay-at-home group, and then you've got Edmondson and Bortuzzo. So, yes, I think it changed the game. I think it changed the way that the Blues entered the zone. I thought they got through the neutral zone with a lot more confidence and a lot more swagger, so credit Mike Van Ryn for that move.
And Shen also made the point that, listen, we could realize that on the first goal by San Jose, it was a tough play by Pietrangelo, but that Pietrangelo's demeanor in the dressing room after the second period was strong. Didn't have to say a lot, but knew that he'd made a mistake. And you get that sense, Darren, this is a very, very tight-knit team that covered for each other.
Very much so. Several of the players have said it's the closest team that they've ever played on. You have to, though, to have resolve and to be resilient is one thing to say that, but you have to do that. I mean, look at the one-goal games that they've won. Look at where they were on January the 3rd. They were out of it, and somehow they've built a nice bond, and that's what got them through this game as well. But when you're the captain, you've got to see on your sweater. You better say the right things at the right times, and Alex Pietrangelo has proven that he's worthy of that C, and he said the right things.
And think about it, Darren, the way things were going in the middle of the second period, we saw all the momentum. This place was rocking. After the game was tied there, Couture with 2 amazing efforts there. How surprised were you that San Jose could not sustain that momentum?
The one area that I was surprised by, and you're right about, Logan Couture is he's a front runner right now for the Conn Smythe Trophy. He's just been brilliant. Same with his line mates as well. But to not have a shot on goal in about a 16-minute span in the second and the third period surprises the heck out of me. And I'm surprised that a team that is so gifted on the back end, led by Burns and Carlson, don't fire more pucks to the net. I know they're a great team at shooting pucks for redirections. They're the best in the league. But at one point when you're down by 1, you've got to fire it on the net. And I think even Jordan Binnington would look at it and go, I can't believe that they're not shooting them at me. Now, mind you, Bortuzzo had a big block. There's a lot of big shot blocks. Oscar Sundqvist had a big shot block as well. But at the end of the day, I think the coaching staff and the players of the San Jose Sharks are going to look back at this and say, let's get it on the net. Let's pound them towards the net and not worry so much about the redirections when you have to score a goal late.
And maybe a missed opportunity for them to really seize control, momentum in this series. Now 1-1, all the hallmarks, Darren, of a long, great Western Conference final.
Time for the Enterprise Pickup of the Week. Alongside Kevin Weeks, I'm Jameson Coyle. Not only the Pickup of the Week, but the Pickup of the Week playoff edition. Who you got?
Well, let's start at West San Jose. Let's do that, SAP Arena, and it's Logan Couture. He's been absolutely sizzling for Pete DeBoer and the San Jose Sharks. Wow, what a postseason he's had. He continues to be dominant in the postseason. And to the left of the screen, one of the better trade deadline acquisitions by Don Sweeney and across the NHL. Marcus Johansson, Mojo as he's known to his teammates, and him and Charlie Coyle, both I should add, have been great on that line for the Boston Bruins.
Tough to argue with both those pickups. Pickup of the Week presented by Enterprise and the NHL. Time for the NHL Hat Trick Challenge presented by Enterprise. Jameson Coyle alongside Kevin Weeks. How are we doing? We're in the conference finals now. How are you doing? It was a slow start, but...
On fire, man, just like you.
All right.
Same thing with the grill. The exact same thing.
Yeah,
We're grilling up the answers.
We'll save that.
Come on,
It
J-Bo.
didn't work well. All right, I don't want to extinguish your flames, so let's keep it going. Who wins Game 3 in the Eastern Conference Final?
Hey, the Bees have been the better team so far, but the Canes are a different team on home ice at PNC Arena. For that reason, I'll go with the Canes. I got a feeling that they're going to be able to rediscover that form. I mean, the fact that they've gone down 0-2 would indicate to me that they'll be able to rediscover their form on home ice, get back to playing a better defensive brand of hockey, and also get that forecheck going and stay out of the box.
Marcus Johansson has found his form, at least in a Bruins sweater at this point. Does he have at least 1 point in Game 3?
I'd say yes. That's been quietly one of the best lines in the Stanley Cup playoffs so far. Him and Charlie Coyle and company, I got to tell you, they're making plays, they're owning offensive zone possession, and also they've been very creative in how they've generated offense, sometimes off the rush, sometimes off the cycle, but keeping a lot of the opposing teams off balance, and so far in the first 2 games, they've played well as well, so I'll say yes.
The Carolina power play has struggled, as has the PK. Do they get a power play goal?
I'll say no for that same reason, as you just alluded to, the fact that they've struggled. And what's really confusing about it is they don't seem to be as decisive on the power play so far through 2 games against the Boston Bruins. It's almost as though they look kind of in between. They're not making crisp reads and crisp plays to this point in the series. Perhaps that changes being back on home ice, but that's been a story and a theme for them so far through games 1 and 2. So all that said, I'll say no there.
All right, let's rehash the picks here. Carolina taking their first game on home ice in this series. They'll win. Marcus Johansson will get a point in Game 3, and the Hurricanes will not come to fruition on the power play. You can download NHL Hat Trick.
Clutch. Is this kid something special or what? His 100th career point in the postseason.
It's unbelievable what's going on here tonight.
And this series we know now is going back to St. Louis all tied up.